What I do is rescue animals. So we don't breed them, we don't sell them, it's all strictly rescue. If an animal is in danger of being put down because somebody thinks it's part wolf, if we can help, we will. Wolves are not vicious man killers. They're also not cartoon animals, right? They are what they are, which is apex predators, and they're not changing for you.
We're not a tourist place. We don't have billboards. We don't charge for tours. We don't advertise. We really are a true rescue. It's a very specific niche, and we are set up to deal with a very, very specific type of animal.
Wolfwood is a state and federally licensed rescue for wolves and wolf dogs. And we have everything here from dogs to full wolves and everything in between. Right now we have 57 animals, so it's big. Animals that come to us are not candidates for re-release because they've already been involved with people. So if you want to put an animal back into the wild, you don't want it to get used to people. My guys have already been involved with people, so we do the opposite of a release program. We try to get them as used to people as possible because they have to live with me for the rest of their lives. All the animals here are permanent residents. And the first thing that we do when we get an animal in is we physically have to rehabilitate it. We physically have to make it better. Sometimes that takes a couple days, sometimes that can take a couple years. It just depends on what's happened to them. So today we're going to talk about three things. We're going to talk about what wolves look like, what makes them the same as dogs, what makes them different. We're going to talk about life in the wild, and we'll talk about communication, which in the wolf world is really, really critical. And in between all that, I'll tell you stories about the animals. This is Trinity. Trinity is a fairly high percentage wolf dog. She is not a full wolf. And so we're going to use her to talk about what that means. All right, so we're going to start with eyes. Wolves can have light green all the way to brown eyes, never blue. If you see something on TV with blue eyes that they're telling you it's a wolf, they're lying to you, right? They can be born with blue eyes just like people, but then they switch. And you're looking for that slant, that really nice slant. Dogs' eyes are a lot rounder. Northern breeds like Huskies and Malamutes, they can have, slanted eyes, but what you're looking for is just that nice golden slant. So Trinity has very wolfy eyes, right? So her eyes are very typically wolves. They have really long pointed noses. Wolves have more than 250 million smelling cells. People only have 10 million. So we just need short little noses, right? If we want to learn about our world, we tend to use our eyes first. Canines use their nose first. And when we talk about communication, we'll talk about why that makes such a difference. So really long pointed noses. One of the ways I know that Trin's not a full wolf is her nose is kind of blunt, right? So if you look at her nose right here, it's kind of blunt. Ears always stand up. They're always erect. And everything about wolves is made for cold weather. 20 below, they're perfectly happy, right? We're out here cussing and swearing because the locks are frozen and the water's frozen, and they're romping and playing. So they have a lot of adaptations for winter. One of them is their ears are fairly close to their heads. If you have big old tall ears like German Shepherd ears, it's too much heat loss, right? So their ears are fairly close to their heads and full of fur. If you look at Trinity's ears, there's lots and lots of fur in there. If you look at some of my dogs and some of my wolf dogs, there's a lot less fur. And they can turn them all the way around to the back, so it's easier to hear behind them. And they can hear so well that they can hear a mouse running underground. Hopefully one of the wolves will let me show you his teeth. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But wolves' teeth are very, very different than dogs. These are your canine teeth. Anything that eats meat has canine teeth. Wolves' canine teeth are very long and curved. They're much more long and much more curved than a dog's, right? That's for prey grabbing. I tell the kids they are carnivores. They don't like beans. They don't like broccoli. Our guys will eat ice cream, but in general, they want meat. So there's these big, long canine teeth for prey grabbing. Then behind that, there's little tiny teeth, even smaller than dogs, for bone scraping. They want to get all the meat off the bone. Then in the back, they have giant bone crunching teeth. Wolves have the third strongest jaws of all mammals. So pound for pound, a lot more pressure than a dog's. I also tell the kids, and you, everybody, wolves don't make good pets, right? our mission is to try to get people to save wild places for wild animals. I tell the kids, you're going to grow up and boat. You're going to run the world someday. You know, save part of our planet to share with animals and other things. But please don't have exotic animals in your backyard. It's not good for us. It's not good for them. So we're very, very, very against breeding. One of the many reasons they don't make good pets is they treat people like they treat each other. Part of the thing that we have to work at is to control that jaw pressure, right? They have to learn they cannot bite down on me as hard as they can bite down on each other. And the more excited they get, just like kids, they forget, right? So we try to keep them calm when we interact with them because they want to play rough, and playing rough with a wolf hurts, right? Wolves have super long legs. They can run 35 miles an hour. So they have these very, very long legs. That's another reason why, you know, Trinity's not a full wolf, is her legs are too short, right? She's too short to the ground. Wolves are built like marathon runners. Malamutes are built like weightlifters, right? So they're built for strength. And so my big blocky animals almost always are part Malamute. So they run 35 miles an hour easily. They have very, very long legs and very big feet. She's got wolf feet. Wolves' feet are huge, right? And they're webbed so that when they go down in the snow, it acts like snowshoes. You guys know what dew claws are? No wolf has back dew claws. No wild dog has back dew claws. Not wolves, not coyotes, not foxes. If you go home and you look at your dog and it doesn't have a back dew claw, that doesn't make it a wolf. But you can't be a wolf and have a back dew claw, right? So it's just one of the other things that we look for. And wolves move very differently than dogs do. Wolves' back feet hit exactly like their front feet, where their front feet hit. So if you're going to track a wolf, their tracks look like railroad tracks. They're straight. Dog tracks are offset like this. They also pick up their feet and prance like horses. They just move very differently. I tell people wolves are to land what dolphins are to water, right? They are meant to move, and they are gorgeous when they do it. There's nothing more beautiful than a wolf running in the snow. All right, Trin, show me your tail, and then you can go. Come here. Let me see. Let's see some tail work. I know it's hot out. I'm sorry. So this right here. So wolves' tails are long. They always reach almost to the ground. Again, the wolves will have lost a lot of fur, so their tail will look shorter. That's so they can wrap it around their nose. Their nose is their only vulnerable part in the wintertime, and their tail has to wrap. This spot right here, this black spot covered in fur, that's a wolf spot. So all the wolves have a black spot right there, blam. There is a scent gland there that most dogs don't have anymore. So you know how your dog goes nose to butt when they want to meet another dog, because they're smelling anal glands, because they don't have scent glands in their tail. Wolves go nose to tail. And that scent gland is like a fingerprint. Every one of them is different. And if they get really scared, that scent gland will emit a smell that I can smell. So the scent gland is very important when we talk about communication.
The first thing we do is we have to physically rehabilitate them. Most of them come to us hurt or sick in some way, and so we have to physically make them better. Sometimes that takes a day, sometimes that takes a year. It just really, really depends on the level of what's happened to them.
This is our hospital pen. This is where we put animals that are sick or have had surgery, or if I need to socialize them. I can't socialize them if I can't get to them, right? So sometimes they come into a small pen first, then they move into a bigger pen. Rowan is Trinity's brother. Rowan is the biggest, weighs the most of any animal I have. He weighs about 135, 140. So Rowan tore his ACL in half. Usually they can heal themselves enough that they can function. However, Rowan was in a lot of pain. And so he has artificial tendons made out of really, really heavy, like fishing wire. And because he's so big, he has two on each side. So she drilled a hole in his bone and threaded through and made him artificial tendons. So this is his third week in here. He gets out in another week. He got his collar off, and we took his staples out. And so now he just needs to start putting a little bit more weight on it, and then he'll be able to go back into his pen. His pen mate misses him very much. However, we have to give him a flatter pen, right? Because when you see the pens, there's lots of rocks and dips, and he's going to hurt himself. So we have to find a new place to put him that's flatter.
People ask me all the time how I know so much about them. And part of it was just a lot of research, and part of it is just over 20 years of experience, you know. And the thing about wolves is you think you know everything, and you do not. You know, they will teach you something new every single day.
This is wolf fencing. That is dog fencing, right? So there's a huge, huge difference. Keith Lawyer, who will be here pretty soon, he builds all of our fencing. He does all the welding. We call this the Jurassic Park pen. And Ra and Tala live in here. And Ra and Tala are full-blooded wolves from Alaska. Come here. I have something for you. Ra, come here. Hurry up. I got it. I got it. You better come here. It might be something really good. It might be something really good. Come here, Mama. Here comes Tala. Come here. Come here. Hurry, hurry, hurry. Hurry, hurry. Come here. Come here. It's very good. Tala's coming. Tala's coming.
So he came from Alaska?
Yes. And Ra, Tala's coming. Tala, come here. Come here. Ra is everything a full-blooded wolf in his prime.
He's like, wait a minute.
I know.
Here.
He's everything a full-blooded wolf in his prime should be. He is going to be 7 this year, if you can believe that. Oh, I forgot to tell you that all wolves have to be born in May or a week or so on either side. I know that Trinity's not a full wolf because she was born in August, right? Because all babies have to be born in the spring. So they're big enough to travel by wintertime. And so these guys were born in May. So I got Ra and Tala at about 3 months of age. And they were very, very sick. And they were very, very neurotic, right? Breeders think that if you take away a baby wolf at 3 months of age, or I'm sorry, 3 or 4 weeks of age, come here, Tala. I have to watch my mic pack. I think she's going to take it. And bottle feed it, that it'll bond to humans, right? That's ridiculous. Okay. Oh, wait, thanks. Don't rub on it. Oh. Thanks, Rob. Wolves are not like cats, okay? Cats are individual hunters, so cats are born with a whole lot of instincts. Wolves have to be taught by their family. They're what we call prey specific. Wolves that hunt deer don't hunt elk. Wolves that hunt elk don't hunt caribou. It's a different skill set. So they have to be taught how to hunt a specific prey. They have to be taught how to live in a specific geographical area. And they have to be taught how to live in a specific family. If you take away a baby wolf from its family and its parents, what you end up with is a very neurotic, sick baby wolf, which these guys were. His name is Ra, both after the Egyptian sun god, but also because all he did when I know he's very jealous, all he did when he got to us was go rah at us, right? So we had to wear bite gloves. Brian will attest to this. Brian wore the bite gloves. Sometimes we play good cop, bad cop. Brian's their bad cop. And I worked very, very hard with Ra. What you're seeing is a whole lot of one-on-one time. And Ra and Tala are not alphas. Neither one of them are alphas. So what happened with Ra is not what happens with most of them. Ra was in such need of a grown-up that I'm it. Ra literally believes I'm his mother, right? And so he looks to me for cues. He is fairly submissive to me. If you notice, I come in behind him. I don't let him come in behind me. That's because that's a dominant position, right? So I've worked very hard with Ra. For example, I had to teach him how to load in a truck. If Ra doesn't want to get in a truck, Ra's not getting in a truck, right? If Tala has to get in the truck, we pick her up and throw her in the truck. Tala's very small for a wolf. That's because she was very sick when we got her. She has a very compromised immune system, and they forged her vet papers to get her on the plane. And so she spent her first couple nights at the vet's office, and we almost lost her due to a respiratory infection. So she's very, very small. If I'm going to do this pretty quick, and we're going to see if he'll let me, right? He's pretty relaxed. These are wolf teeth. Wolf teeth are very different than dog teeth. Can you see that? So they're very long and curved, and you're just so full, you don't care what I do to you. Normally, I would have him jump on the doghouse just to show you how athletic he is, but he's too full. He'll get sick. I mean, it'll hurt him. So I'm not going to do that, huh? And this is blowing, okay? So you just get massive amounts of this fur. We do have a volunteer that spins it into bracelets, and Brian's family has gotten mittens and scarves and all kinds of fun things, huh? Huh, I know. Thank you, Ra. Thanks for coming down, big man. Thanks for your fur, too. It's like having a sunburn, you know, you just can't stop plucking it. It's really... this used to be an entire elk head, right, with the lower jaw, which you saw me playing with up there, and it had a big long neck on it with about 30 pounds, 40 pounds of meat, and I had to drag it in and drag it in and drag it in. It took all my effort, and he picked it up and walked off with it. I was so mad because it was really bad, and that's all that's left of it. So in the springtime, right about now, we start throwing off old bones, you know, and then we start over again. So thanks, dude. Thanks. Appreciate it. Bye, Tala. Tala is a lot shyer with crowds than he is.
About how much does he weigh?
As you can see, it's very difficult to take Ra to the vet. I'm going to guess right now he's about 110, probably. Wolves are actually a little lighter than dogs. Think of wolves as indigenous, like runner, you know, and then dogs are just like domestic Americans, right? We're big and bulky, and so there's just their bones, their structural frame is actually lighter than dogs. So nice drinking, sloppy dude.
Wolfwood is really against breeding. We really think that we should save wild places for wild animals and not have exotic animals in our living room. It's bad for us, it's bad for them.
This is our 6-pack. This is 6 of our 9 animals from Alaska. We got a call from the Attorney General of Alaska who said, we are going to shut this place down for animal cruelty. Do you know how bad you have to be shut down in the state of Alaska for animal cruelty? Really bad, right? And they said, but they have 9 babies. Can you get the 9 babies out before they become evidence in a court case? Because once they're evidence in a court case, we have to destroy them. So we flew all 9 babies from Anchorage to Albuquerque, where we picked them up. Again, they were all very sick. They were all very distraught. Ben has raised these animals. They love Ben best. He takes naps with them. He grooms them. They groom him. He is literally, again, their sibling. So they love Ben more than they love me. However, they listen to me better because I'm the mom, right? So again, it's a difference between a relationship with your sibling and your parents. So we got these babies and we had to teach them how to be wolves, right? So for example, if you are a baby wolf, you can stomp on your brother, you can bite your brother, you can push him into the ground. You cannot shake him. Shaking is prey behavior. So if adults see the babies shaking each other, they make them stop. Right? Ben and I had to make them stop. They would not howl. If you are a baby wolf, you do not want to howl because then other animals know where you are. When they were about 4 or 5 months old, they finally started to howl. Then we had to teach them things we wanted them to know, like don't eat my shoes, don't take my food bucket. The rule at the refuge is we can walk in any pen with a bucket of food and it is mine until I give it to you. So by working one-on-one with like Ra, that's fairly easy to do. 9's a gang, right? It's very difficult to keep all 9 of these animals from grabbing food away from us. Ben used to be tall enough. He used to be able to hold it up like this and they couldn't get it, but that's not true anymore.
We try to dissolve myth and misinformation. We try to teach people not to believe everything they see on TV or in the movies.
This is Cole. And Cole's story is very interesting and again, part of what we do at the refuge. I had a very strong alpha female named Tonka. She was the heart and soul of the refuge for years. She was my first official rescue as an organization. She was a very strong alpha. Her brother died. When her brother died, I thought I would lose her to a broken heart. She howled and cried and would not stop. I do not believe in buying wolf puppies. So I was not going to go get her a puppy. I tried 4 or 5 other animals in with her, and she would not allow anybody in with her. So in desperation, we went to the Humane Society and got Cole at 8 weeks of age, right? We had no idea that he was going to grow into the Bubba that you see here before us. We knew he was going to be big, but not this big, right? So we gave Cole to Tonka to be her baby. Well, I told you that wolves are really good communicators, right? They are much better communicators than dogs are. So basically what we've done so that dogs can live with us is sort of dumb them down. And we've also physically altered them so they're not as good communicators. So we gave Cole to Tonka to be her baby. Well, Tonka gave Cole a signal. Well, he should be able to put his ears forward or lay them back in response. Well, he can't because they're down. Right? He should be able to smile or snarl. Well, he can't because he has these big old jowls, right? She would give him a signal and Cole would go, duh. And she'd give him another signal and Cole would go, duh. Until finally, you know, Tonka just planted him. They were inseparable. I could leave the gate open when one would not leave without the other one. Tonka died at 17, so we had her a very long time. Cole doesn't know he's not a wolf. He tries to howl. He goes, oh, oh. However, Cole provides we keep him, and we keep him here because Cole provides an amazing function for the refuge. Wolves' #1 response to danger is to run away. I could be mugged in the streets, and my wolves don't care, they're running, right? And people get them because they think they're going to be good guard dogs, and it's exactly the opposite. All kinds of stuff could be going on down here, and they would not tell me. Cole always tells me. So he's the guardian. Right? Nobody gets to the wolves past Cole. So wolves communicate in 3 ways. They communicate vocally like we do. They use their voice. So there's grunts, growls, squeaks, this whole array of sounds, the most famous of which is the howl, obviously. All howls mean something different. The howls for here's my meat is not the same as the howl for here's a bear, right? I know all their howls. I know which one is calling and what's going on. They know my voice. They know when I'm mad. They know when I'm happy. They know the difference between the trucks. It's really incredible what they do with voice and sound. It's very important to them. We talk to them all the time. The other way, the second most important way they communicate is through body language. And again, if I go like this, you know I'm mad, and if I go like this, you know I'm happy, right? So I don't have to talk. But remember I told you wolves treat people like they treat each other. So not only do we have to watch their bodies, we have to watch what we do with our bodies. So I'm going to tell you my very, very favorite wolf story. And it's about body language. I had a full-blooded wolf named Nokomo and his father. And they lived with 4 other wolves with a man who used the father in some movie work. The guy went to jail and left the wolves with nothing, right? So after about 3 weeks, they all broke out. DOW shot 4 of them, managed to capture 2, put them on a little small Cessna airplane and flew them to Durango Airport, and I picked them up. But because Nokomo had been starved for so long, he was very food aggressive. So if I would go in with my bucket, he'd try to take it. Or if I walked past what he thought was food, he'd growl at me, right? So until he learned not to do that, only me and 1 other volunteer went in. And so the other volunteer was doing what all good volunteers do, which is pick up poop, right? And so she bent down and came up, and she bent down and she came up because she was in a hurry, and she bent down and she came up, and Nokomo grabbed her by the head. He took her whole head in his mouth. So if you don't know wolf behavior, you're like, oh my gosh, he bit her. If he bit her, she'd know it, right? But she was literally play bowing, just like your dog. She was going down and up with her butt in the air. She was signaling to Nokomo, I want to play. Like a good wolf, he grabbed her by the head because that's how wolves play with each other. So, did Nokomo do anything wrong? No. Do you want your head in a wolf's mouth? No, right? So we're very careful what we do with our bodies. The final and most important way that wolves communicate is through chemical communication. We call it pee-mail. They pee on everything. A wolf pack will mark its borders and its territory every 2 minutes. It's very important. Keeps the babies in, keeps other wolves out, right? Here at the refuge, my biggest expense is fencing. The puppy pen was $20,000 because I won't electrify, right? So it costs me a lot of money. If I can save a wall like that, it saves me a fourth. So that's a really big savings. However, then there is no neutral zone. They have territories and neutral zones. And so they are constantly trying to keep track of that border. So a lot of stress behavior that you see in zoos is not animals that have too small of a space. They don't have a big enough neutral zone, right? So it's very, very important. Male and female alphas lift their leg to pee. If your dog is a female and she lifts her leg to pee, she's an alpha, right? And they bend over and they try to pee as high as they can because then the next wolf that comes along thinks they're bigger than they are. But once they pee on something, the next wolf can come along up to 3 days later. They can tell how old the first one was, sick or healthy, what it ate, male or female, pack member or not. They learn all that just from smelling where the first one peed. And so it's a really, really good way to get communication without coming close enough to fight. It's like the difference between sending a mean email and getting in a barroom brawl, right? They also have scent glands on the bottom of their feet. You know how your dog kicks up dirt? It's because they have scent glands on the bottom of their feet. So they pee on something, that means this is mine. They do this, it's like an exclamation point. This is really mine, okay? They're just showing off. Scent glands in their cheeks, which is like cats, which is why you get rubbing, and then the scent gland on their tail. So chemical communication is very, very important.
This meth house had these 6 wolves, and the wolves were all chained together. They weren't just chained up, they were all chained together. And they went in guns drawn to shut down the meth house and saw all these animals. And so they called me because what are they going to do with them, right? And that was actually my first big rescue. There were 6 of them.
These guys came from Washington, and they came out of a place that was actually called the Sanctuary of Sorrow by the end of it. And this guy, please don't give your money to people you don't know. Please make sure that you're supporting something you believe in. And so this guy raised like $500,000 on the internet, right? And he said, I am taking animals off of death row and I am saving them. And he had 130 animals crammed in little boxes stacked in a warehouse, row upon row upon row upon row. And they never got to get out of these little tiny boxes. And he bribed all the local officials so they never shut him down. So finally, somebody snuck a picture out and put it on the internet, and there was this big internet push to shut him down. When he found out that he was going to be prosecuted, he loaded up half the animals into a semi-truck and took off. The other half all died, and he started driving around. This is how complicated rescues get. There's a group in New York called the Guardians of Rescue, and they got a lawyer, and the lawyer brokered a deal with this guy, and he dropped his trailer in Kingman, Arizona. And so they started to triage all the animals and figure out where they should go and all of that. And they came across Jill and Cody, so they called me. And we took the big truck down there with the big red cage to Kingman, Arizona to get them. Kodiak jumped right in. He's like, I don't know where I'm going, but I know where I've been. He's young and fairly healthy. We don't think the man had him very long. However, Jill is much older. We think that he had her a long time, and she has a lot of musculoskeletal problems because of being crammed in that box all the time. Here she comes. And so nobody had touched Jill. The vet hadn't seen her. Nobody had been able to touch her. I spent about 4 hours in the pen with her until I could finally leash her up, and I muzzled her and I put her in the truck and we brought them home. Due to their level of abuse, we thought it was going to take forever for Jill and Cody to be okay, right? However, within 2 weeks, they're like, we love Wolfwood, we love you, we love each other, to the point where every school child that comes to the refuge goes in and see Jill and Cody. They love kids.
There is a feeling of connection. I think that people yearn for and that people are looking for, and the wolves definitely hit people in their souls. You know, there is a soul connection, one-on-one, that I am privileged enough to see every single day. The profound effect that these animals can have on someone's spirit and on someone's soul and on their physical well-being. And it's my joy to witness that.